Hey guys, welcome back to the Joy of Wrenching. My name is Les. I'm your friendly neighborhood mechanic. And today in the shop, we got this gorgeous 1990 C4 model Corvette. And today we're doing the rear brakes on this. There's a ton of great videos on the front brakes and how to change those for these C4s, but there's not a lot of good rear brake videos. So today I'm going to change that. So come along as we get into it. So the tools you're going to need in order to change the rear brake pads are obviously going to be some new brake pads. You're also going to need to compress the calipers. So we're going to use a big C-clamp for that. There's a lot of other tools that you could use, but I just like this, the ease of that. I also have a wire brush here just to get some corrosion and any of the dirt and debris and carbon deposits off of the caliper. You're going to need a 6mm Allen or hex key, okay? That's going to be for one of the bolts. And then you're going to need a 15mm wrench and a 17mm wrench. The slide pins always need to be re-greased, and so you're going to need some grease in order to grease those slide pins. And really, that is all we need. Now, as we're doing brake jobs, we're going to be compressing that caliper in order to make space for the new pads, which are thicker than the old ones you take off. And when you do that, you're forcing the fluid back through the lines and back up here to our master cylinder. So come check this out. You want to make sure that the fluid in your master cylinder, you can see through this plastic here, it's about halfway up. You want to make sure that there's room here for that fluid to rise as we compress the caliper pistons in the back. So if you don't have enough room here, you can always suck some of it out. Just look in through the top. You can always suck some of that out with a syringe or whatever. And if this does overflow, it's not that big a deal. Just clean it up real quick, and because it's corrosive and it'll eat the paint. All right, so let's get started on these rear brakes. Come here and check out what we got. We've got a caliper here, and it pinches onto our rotor to stop us, obviously. Now, check your rotors, and if there's some deep grooving, or if it's really dug into it, or if there's a big lip here on the edge, you might think about replacing these rotors as well. But today, we're just doing brake pads. So in order to get these brake pads off of here, we need to remove the caliper. Now, there's two different ways to do that. We can remove the caliper mounting bolts here, or we can remove the caliper cradle mounting bolts, which are back here, and they are much larger. But today, we're just going to remove these mounting bolts right here so we can swing the caliper out of the way. The first place I want to start is with this lower mounting bolt right here, and this is where you need that 6mm Allen or hex key. And it goes in here in the back of that, in the head of that bolt. So get that 6mm in there. If there's any corrosion or anything in there, clean that out first. Make sure it's good and in there. And then you're going to need your 17mm wrench, and that goes on this side, holding this part right here. Okay, so now you can hold the 6mm Allen, and you can either spin it left, or you can take your 17mm on this side, which I find is easier, and spin it right in order to loosen this lower mounting bolt. Just get another bite, come in here, get another bite, and keep turning until this thing loosens up to the point where you can get it out of place with your fingers. So let's just see. There's often a little bit of Loctite on this bolt, and so it may take a few turns before you get to the point where you can turn it by hand, and we're almost there. A few more turns and she should be free, but it has a lot of Loctite on it. Yeah, now I can turn it by hand. There we go. Okay, so there she finally let go, but you can see that red or orange colored Loctite on it, and there's that 6mm hex. Some people say it's a Torx, but it's not. It's a hex. Okay, so make sure that you get that to hold that one and remove it. So we got the lower of the two mounting bolts, the 6mm hex, undone. Now we're going to do this upper mounting bolt right here. And so that is a 15mm on the back side. Let me get that in there. Of course, my light's going to be in the way. So we'll get a 15mm, hold that back side there, and then a 17mm again for this side. And just like the other bolt, you can either turn the back side or this front side. And I find it easier sometimes to turn this front side here. So we'll grab that and turn it towards the back of the vehicle. There we go. And then just come in here and get another grab, turn. Just do this again until this is loose enough to come out. It too has a little bit of Loctite on it, so that's why it's going to take a few turns, and it might be something that's a little bit too much for your fingers for first number of turns. Let me see if that's good enough to do with fingers now. Yeah, we can get our fingers in there and twist that. So all I'm doing is just finishing this off with my hand because it's nice and loose. There we go. Now, if you notice back here, look back here, this bolt doesn't want to come out very easily because of the spring being in the way. So just go ahead and leave it in there. It ain't going to hurt anything. Now, let me set my tools down. All right, so now we have this upper mounting bolt loose and out of the way. We have removed that lower mounting bolt completely. That one came out real easy because there's nothing behind it to block it. It's time to remove our caliper. So all you do to remove your caliper, just grab it, give it a little wiggle, and it'll pull straight out and up, just like so. And it will come right off, just like this. There we go. And so you can just set it to the side somewhere. Just set right there for now. And we will deal with our brake pads now, and also our slide pins that are right here. All right, now that our caliper is up and out of the way, we can go ahead and take our brake pads, and you just slide them right on out, just like that, and dispose of them or whatever. Now, the back brake pad, if you notice, has our little squealer bar right there. So we're gonna make sure that on your new set, you put the squealer bar on the inside pad area. Now here's where our tools come in handy. We've got us a little wire brush, and I'm just going to clean these areas off of any corrosion, rust. See that dust flying up there? That's just brake dust. Don't want to breathe too much of that, but I'm cleaning these little pad areas off where the pads slide. That way that they will move nice and smoothly. The other thing you want to move nice and smoothly are these glide pins right here. So you'll just hold on to the rubber and pull that slide pin back out. And there you can see how dried up all of that grease is on there. You want to make sure that it's got good grease, not all dried up like this, because that will keep it from moving smooth. So I've got some new grease here, and just put a light coat of some brake grease on here. Make sure you don't get a big old glob on the end of it, because when you push this back in, if there's a big glob on the end, it'll just piston it in there, and then it'll keep it nice and, or keep it from seating all the way down. So I like to put it in there and wiggle it around a little bit, make sure it's moving nice and smooth. Boy, that feels good. Now we're going to do this second one here. Get you some light. So again, I'm holding the rubber little accordion piece here with my finger, and then I'm pulling the glide pin, slide pin out, just like that. And then we're going to clean off all the gunk, all the old grease here. Give her a nice light coating of new grease. And then back in she goes. Circle it around a little bit, piston it back and forth. Make sure that feels nice and smooth. If these things aren't moving smooth, you'll end up with uneven wear, and one pad will be thick and one pad will be thin, wore out. That feels real good, so we're ready to go back together. Okay, so before we put our pads in place, let's go ahead and compress the piston of this caliper back in. And this is a funny looking caliper, isn't it, guys? But it's an integrated parking brake, mechanical anyway, with this pad and everything in it. In order to squeeze this back together, even though it's got the integrated parking brake, you don't have to twist it or do anything funky. Just get yourself a big pair of channel locks, or a big C-clamp in this case, and I'm putting the back end of this C-clamp back here in a nice safe spot where I'm not going to squish anything important. And then the front part of the C-clamp will sit right in the middle of our piston there, and you just tighten this thing up. Try and do it with both hands there. Tighten it up just a little bit at a time. Tighten, wait a second. Tighten, wait a second. tighten, wait a second. The reason why we're waiting that second is for that pressure. We're squeezing this and it's trying to force that pressure, or that hydraulic pressure, all the way back through the lines. If you wait just a second, it relieves some of that pressure and it just makes it easier to turn. Now, here's a good time for us to go up front and let's just make sure that our fluid level isn't getting too high. So let's go check. Now that we've squished this in a little bit, we're going to go check our level in our brake fluid. All right, so just come over here and check and make sure that your brake fluid isn't rising too high and going to get to the top where it's going to spill over and get all over your car. So this is still looking good, so we're okay to continue compressing our caliper. The brake fluid looked good up there, so we'll go ahead and continue compressing our caliper. A little bit of squeeze, rest, squeeze, rest, squeeze, rest. And again, look up here where my other end of this thing's at. It's just on the meat of the caliper, the backside of the caliper. It's not squeezing on the hose here. It's not squeezing on the cable. It's not squeezing on my brake bleeder, any of that. And we're just tightening this thing up until it won't go in anymore. Okay. That feels like it's just about there. Now, hold on just a second. Let me double check. Yeah, released. I released it and then I squeezed it again and it sure enough wouldn't go in anymore. So that's all the way home. So take a look at how this thing looks when it's fully compressed. So it still kind of looks like you got quite a bit of room here, but you don't. That's what it looks like fully compressed. Now that our caliper is fully compressed, I'm just going to take my little wire brush and clean the surfaces where those pads are going to be touching and compressed. And then I like to do just a little coating of grease. This helps to cut down on any squeaking or rattling. I put it on the points that touch the pads. So these two ears and then the face of the piston. There we go. We're ready to put our pads in now. All right, it's time to put our pads in. So grab your pads out of the box. Find the one that's got the little squealer bar on it. That one goes to the inside. So we might as well do that one first. I always like to do the harder ones first. And now I like to put a little bit of grease. I mean, just a little bit on these ears that slide on the caliper itself, just like that. And then we're going to come in here, and then the springs go towards the outside like that. And then the ears of the pad just fall right into their little slide places. You can see right here, there's two on the back side, and it just slides right on there. So let me put the front one in. That one will be a lot easier for you to see. Here's my front pad. Just a tiny little bit of grease on these slide surfaces. And take that, and again, we want our springs to be facing out. And so you just come in here and set it right in there. See how easy those things are? There's no weird way of putting them in. Just set them right there. Make sure these springs are positioned like this. That makes it way easier to put our caliper back on. And that's our next step. Okay, so it's time to put our caliper back in place. So I like to set these springs. See, they'll fall that way or that way. And I like to set them just like that, or somewhere in the middle if you can. And it's okay if you want. You can put just a little dab of grease on these things, and that'll help to hold them wherever you position them. So we'll go ahead and do that. We'll put just a little dab of grease on it. That'll hold them right there, sort of centered up. And we take our compressed piston, compressed caliper, and we just slide it right over the top. You can put your finger on the front one there. And what you're looking for is you want to make sure that these springs don't pop through that opening right there. So you want to make sure that they're seated such that the bottom part of the spring is touching this part of the caliper and the top part of the spring is touching that part of the caliper. When you've got that, take your hand and push in on the caliper and start your bolt over here. See this upper mounting bolt? I'm starting that by hand. You may have to hold this back side here just a little bit. Once you grab a couple of threads, that's all you really need. And now we can take our lower mounting bolt, which is, where did it go? Here it is. Our lower mounting bolt with the hex feature. And we can come in through the back here and get it started also by hand. All right, we grabbed a few threads, so we're good. We're on. Now, all we got to do is tighten up these mounting bolts, and she'll be done. So let's go ahead and tighten up our lower mounting bolt. So again, the 6mm hex, and as you can see, as you tighten it, this side will want to turn. So we want to get that 17mm wrench and put it over here on this side. And you can turn the back side or you can turn this side. Let me get this doggone light out of our way again. I tell you, it's hard to get light on the subject, but not in the subject. All right, well, that doesn't show you very good, does it? How's that? That's better. So we're going to get our 17mm here, and this time we're turning the 17mm towards the front of the vehicle, or down, or right, righty-tighty, whatever you want to say. And we'll just keep turning this thing, and I find it easier to turn the 17mm on this side than I do to turn the hex wrench on the back. You'll feel it start to get tight. There's still a little bit of Loctite on that bolt, so I didn't feel like the need to add any, but if you do, go ahead. And then it gets tight, and you want to just give it a good snug. Okay, this is probably 25 foot-pounds or so is all these take, so you don't have to get too gorilla crazy with it. Time to do our upper mounting bolt. And remember, this one is a 15mm on this side, and again, 17mm in the front. So we'll go ahead and we'll use the 15 to hold the back side, and then we'll tighten from this side with our 17mm. The reason why I'm not tightening from the back side is when I move this, it runs into the spring. The back side, the 15, runs into the spring and it'll knock off of the bolt head, and it could strip it out. So just be careful with that. All right, so now we got it good and snugged up. We'll just give it a good little snug. Again, about 25 foot-pounds or so is all you need on these. And that is job done for the rear brake pad replacement. Well, there we go, guys. As you can see, changing the rear brakes on a C4 Corvette, not that hard. If I can do it, you can do it too. Thank you, guys. I hope you appreciate the time that I took to show you all the nitty-gritty details and talk through what was being done and why. If this helped you out, do me a favor, help me too. Hit that subscribe button so I can help more people. Thank you for your time today. Have a wonderful week. God bless.